Good morning. As you can probably tell, this isn't recorded live at Capitol. I forgot to press the record button. To Know the Dark by Wendell Berry. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sinks, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Welcome this morning. I love this time of year. And I wanted to start by asking you, what are your favorite things about this season? Maybe it's the lights, concerts, carol singings, gatherings, potlucks, whatever it is. I want to just take a pause because today I want to focus on the dark because I think our ancestors would think that we are celebrating all wrong. Now, you can see the need for a celebration. It always seems to be a really hard time of year, especially this year. It's cold, it's windy, it's rainy, it's gloomy and foggy. It's dark late into the morning and then dark again mid-afternoon. The days are short. We get about 8 hours of daylight now at the end of December versus almost 18 hours of daylight on the summer solstice on June 21st. But it's just 6 months away. So we've lost 10 hours of light in a day. Let's take a pause to look at the definition of dark from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And this is by no means all of the definitions. Dark, devoid of light, not receiving, reflecting, transmitting, or radiating light, arising from or showing evil traits or desires. Dismal, gloomy, i.e., had a dark view of the future, lacking knowledge or cultured, unenlightened, a dark period in history, relating to grim or depressing circumstances, dark humor, secret, as in they kept their plans dark. It is both a noun and a verb. As a noun, get home before dark, afraid of the dark, and as a verb, to grow dark or to make dark. So it's a good thing that we have all of these distractions, the lights, parties, carols, events, but they are just that, distractions. We've lost the art of finding comfort in the dark, or without the dark, we wouldn't appreciate the light. Without the dark, there wouldn't be light. During these short winter days, we want to banish the dark, to shine a light, bring a light, illuminate, and make the dark disappear. But instead of banishment, this morning, I want to gently invite you to explore what it would be like to embrace the dark, just the way our ancestors did eons ago. The winter solstice is no longer celebrated as it once was. Wiccans and pagans know that this is a period of quiet and rest. Our winter work is to plumb the wisdom found in the stillness and the darkness, be it in the woods, in our homes, or within ourselves. It's a time to be, just be. A time of taking stock, a time of pondering and contemplation. All we have to do is look to nature. She understands this time. Plants die back. Many animals hibernate during these cold months. And perhaps we should too. Imagine if instead of all the grand celebrations at this time of year, that we use the dark to strengthen ourselves and gather our wisdom, a real period of hibernation, which is necessary for so many animals to survive the brutal cold. And I think if we tuned into our deeply held wisdom, I think we would find the joys of resting in the dark, to give nourishment to our tired limbs and our overburdened minds. As these next few days shorten until December 21st, the shortest and darkest day of the year, can you relish the dark? Can you embrace the dark and the mystery? Can you still your heart and mind? It feels like we are doing everything possible to avoid the dark. There's so much encouragement to indulge in alcohol and travel and sugary treats and shopping and shows and concerts and overspending. There's a near toxic positivity in the air. And if you don't subscribe to that extravagance, you're labeled a Scrooge. And yet, if we could tune into that natural tug, to go inward and surround ourselves in the dark. What if we started to reframe winter? Yes, it's cold and dark, but winter is kind. She points us in her quiet, soft way towards our inner self, towards this time of peace and reflection, an invitation to embrace the darkness. What if we mindfully thought of winter as a time for thinking and being still, time to immerse ourselves in the quiet dark? Before birth, we grew in near total darkness. I've been in caves which were immersed in darkness. Go down a few meters under the ocean and it gets very dark very quickly. Photographers used to use dark rooms to develop film. And that is where the mystery happens, in the dark. But it's harder and harder to find the dark. Humans have eradicated it so completely. Did you know locally we have one of only 2 designated dark spaces in all of Canada in urban environments? Cattle Point is called an urban star park where artificial light is strictly controlled and education is in place about the benefits of reducing light pollution. There are urban areas you can find the dark. Frankly, it's not all that dark at Cattle Point. There's a lot of light bleeding from nearby hotels and marinas, but go to your local park that still has a few ancient old trees. It's a very good place to find the dark. Or think about walking in the dark without using a headlamp, as long as it's safe, of course, i.e. safe to not trip and fall. Humans have a natural fear of the dark. Apex predators used to hunt us, often did so at night. A sound that's no problem during the day, suddenly heard at night, becomes ominous. But the dark allows us to open to experience. When have you been immersed in total and complete darkness? Was it terrifying or nourishing? Could you mindfully create a dark space for yourself? This fall, I've really been enjoying becoming aware of the darkness as it arrives. And I've learned that there are different terms for the coming of the dark. So as the sun is approaching the horizon, let's just use the setting sun for now, but it's same for the rising sun, just the opposite. As the sun is approaching the horizon and going down, that hour before sunset is called the golden hour. And then once the sun sets, that first little bit of time, it's done in degrees of the sun, but I'm not sure any of us know exactly the degrees of the sun. But that first chunk of time, the golden hour is releasing, and then it's called the blue hour. This is also known as civil twilight. So it's just starting to get dark. You're just kind of making that decision. Do I need the car's headlights on or not? Then it becomes nautical twilight. And that's when you definitely need the car's headlights on. But if you happen to be out on the water in a kayak, it's still quite light enough to navigate with no problem. It's after that time when the sun sets below 12 degrees down from the horizon. 12 to 18 degrees below is called astronomical twilight. So that's when the stars are starting to appear, but not the whole beautiful blanket of stars in the sky. And it's after the sun sets below 18 degrees, which is a fair number of degrees. That is when true darkness falls. This time of the dark comes with great expectations and so many possibilities. What will you do? Read, sleep, meditate, dream, learn something new? The deep dark of winter can help us to remove the distractions, and it presents us with the perfect time to withdraw into ourselves, into wisdom. Do you know what the most important thing to do at this time of year is? To find love. In my yoga class last week, the teacher called out, "What's the most important type of love?" And there was silence in the room, and one little voice called out, "Self-love." Maybe the dark is a time to find a little bit of self-love. My friends, this is the time of invisible magic. Nourished and cocooned in the dark, there is hope. You know, on the gloomiest, darkest days, fog and low cloud hanging over the city, there is a little bit of magic. I encourage you to go down to the waterfront. And on those days where it just seems to be so gloomy, you'll see a small band of orangey light right at the horizon. It's a winter phenomenon that I've noticed for a few years now. This small band of orange light low on the horizon. It's like nature reminding us that even in the dark, the light will return, which is the whole focus of the shortest of days. As of Wednesday, the days will start to get longer, the sun will return, the world will turn again, and the warmth and light will return. But I encourage you to spend some time in the dark this winter and then emerge into the season of joy and celebration as the sun returns. I'd like to end with a winter solstice prayer written by Edward Hayes. The dark shadow of space leans over us. We are mindful that the darkness of greed, exploitation, and hatred also lengthens its shadow over our small planet Earth. As our ancestors feared death and evil and all the dark powers of winter, we fear the darkness of war, discrimination, and selfishness may doom us and our planet to an eternal winter. May we find hope in the lights we have kindled on this sacred night. Hope in one another and in all who form the webwork of peace and justice that spans the world. In the heart of every person on this earth burns the spark of luminous goodness. In no heart is there total darkness. May we who have celebrated this winter solstice together by our lives and service, by our prayers and our love, call forth from one another the light and the love that is hidden in every heart. Be well, friends.